why does this reverb sound so bad and muddy? Just kidding, I know exactly why it sounds bad. Alright guys, I'm gonna show you a few tips on how to make your really muddy reverb sound clean and crisp. Whether you want the really big washy verbs or the small verbs. I'm gonna give you a few tips on how to make it sound good. Okay, let me show you what the common mistake people do when putting reverb on tracks. Let's listen to this piano right here, no reverb. Pretty decent. What most people do, they're like, oh, I want some reverb. Let me get this really big recital hall reverb and throw it on the keyboard. Which can be cool if that's what you want. If you want to sound like you're drowning under the Pacific Ocean, go for it. But there's a better way to do it. So the first tip is called using a reverb send. A send is basically you're taking the audio from one track and you're sending it to another track. It's also called bussing, like you're bussing the sound over. But let me show you how to do it in reverb. I'm not exactly sure how to do whatever DAW you're using, but that's something you can learn on your own. Okay, so I have this dedicated keyboard reverb. Keyboard, no reverb. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have a second track. I'm gonna call it keys reverb. Keys reverb. I'm gonna go into that track. I'm gonna add in my favorite reverb plugin. I'm gonna pick a really large reverb. So in Reaper, what you would do to create a send, you find whatever options you see where it says route, click into it, and then it says sends right there. You're gonna add a new send and send it to whatever track you had the reverb on. So keys reverb, that's my send. As for those sends, there's an easier way to do that as well. Another way to do that is literally just click where it says route, drag it into the next routing, and now you've sent it to the next track. So now I have this really big reverb in a completely different track. Tip number 2, volume adjustment. Now you have dedicated reverb track, so now you have to just adjust the volume of how much reverb you want. So if you want no reverb on this send at all, you put it at 0. And it's dry again. And if I put it all the way back to unity, that's basically like having just 100% wet reverb. So what I want to do, I'll listen to it and I'll like slowly fade in and figure out how much I want. So now we have a little bit of reverb. So dry sound. Sound with the reverb send. Cool. So now the next step is to put EQ on the reverb. So I'm going to EQ out the lower end, because when you have a lot of low frequencies going through a reverb, that's what makes it sound muddy. That's partially what makes it sound muddy. So what I can do is literally go into the track with the reverb, put an EQ on it, and I'm literally just gonna cut the low end. So this was before the EQ. And after the EQ. Let's put some bass notes in there so we can hear it. Before EQ. Now after the EQ. Now it sounds better. The next step is, I don't send any bass instruments to any of my reverbs, personally, because like we said before, it gets muddy. So let me go back to the full track. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I have two different reverbs. I put a different amount of reverb on different instruments. So the keys have more reverb than the drums and the bass, because too much reverb on drums and bass sounds bad to me. So let's, for example, my bass track. There's absolutely no reverb on that. And then my kick drum, I specifically separated the kick drum from all the other sounds, so there's also no reverb on that. And then I just put like the snare and the hi-hats and then any other crash cymbals in its own dedicated drum reverb. That's a smaller room, like this small plate. And then just like we did with the EQ before, I EQ'd the low end out of the specifically that as well. So we have the drums with no reverb. And then we add that little small plate reverb with the EQ on it, and it sounds like this. Along with the bass with no reverb. And then we had our keys with the big reverb that we had before. So with the final result, we had the previous one where there was reverb on every single track with no editing on it. Then we had this next version with the reverb sent to different tracks. We did volume adjusted on each reverb, and then we EQ'd the low end out of it, and it sounds like this. And that's how you get those big crispy reverbs along with the small ones as well. If you guys like this video, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment. Let me know what I can do next to help you take your production to the next level. This is Tonal Rumble Pack. See y'all later.